What if the world you wake up to every morning is not the only reality there is? What if the dreams you wander through each night are not illusions, but glimpses into a deeper layer of existence? A place where your mind dances freely with truth before returning to the limits of the body. Alan Watts once said that life and dream are two sides of the same cosmic coin, spinning endlessly in the hands of consciousness. And if that is true, then perhaps your dreams are not fantasy at all, but windows through which your soul remembers its freedom. Think for a moment. When you dream, you never question the reality of the dream. The faces, the sounds, the feelings, all of them are as real as the air you breathe while awake. Yet, when you open your eyes, you call it just a dream. But what if awakening is only another dream, one wrapped in routine and repetition? Watts often reminded us that reality is not fixed. It is a play of perception, a divine game of hide and seek, where the universe forgets itself just to rediscover its own beauty through your eyes. Imagine that your nightly visions are messages from that forgotten self, the infinite consciousness disguised as you. Perhaps your dreams are not random stories, but the language of your deeper being, trying to tell you who you truly are. Each image, each symbol, is a whisper from eternity, asking you to remember that you are never separate from the dream itself. Alan Watts believed that waking life and dream life flow into one another like tides, both born from the same ocean of awareness. And if that's so, then to dismiss your dreams is to ignore half of your existence. Every dream is a rehearsal for awakening, an invitation to see beyond the surface of things, to understand that all forms, even the ones you call real, are temporary ripples in a vast, infinite sea of consciousness. So, what if, tonight, when you close your eyes, you are not escaping reality, but entering it? What if the truest version of yourself is waiting there, not in the daylight of certainty, but in the moonlit realm of mystery? Because maybe, just maybe, your dreams are more real than you've ever dared to believe. We live believing that waking life is the only truth, that the solid, the tangible, the visible define reality. Yet, as Alan Watts taught, this sense of solidity is an illusion woven by perception. We trust our senses as if they were the ultimate judges of existence, but they only reveal fragments, shadows projected on the walls of consciousness. When you touch a surface, when you breathe, when you listen, it all feels undeniably real. But so do the landscapes in your dreams. The mind, in both states, creates meaning through experience, shaping worlds within and without. Watts would often compare our perception of reality to watching a movie so immersive that we forget we're sitting in the theater. In the same way, life itself can be so convincing that we forget we are the consciousness watching it unfold. This is the essence of the cosmic game, the self, disguised as a person, pretending to be separate from what it truly is. And just like in dreams, you are both the creator and the participant of your waking reality. The boundaries between the dreamer and the dream dissolve once you understand that both arise from the same source. The infinite awareness that plays all roles, paints all skies, and whispers all stories. Consider this. Every night, your mind creates an entire universe. People, places, events, all from nothing. You build a world as real as this one. And when you wake, it vanishes as if it never existed. But does it really disappear, or does it simply merge back into the same consciousness that gave birth to your waking world? To Alan Watts, this wasn't a mystery to be solved, but a dance to be observed. The endless rhythm of appearing and dissolving, birth and death, waking and dreaming. When you start to see the dream and waking life as reflections of one another, the separation begins to fade. You realize that both are expressions of the same infinite being exploring itself through different masks of reality. The dream doesn't lie, it reveals. It exposes your desires, fears, and memories that your waking mind buries under logic and control. Watts believed that in understanding dreams, we come closer to understanding the essence of existence itself, the unity beneath the illusion of duality. And perhaps that's the ultimate lesson, that you are never apart from anything. The same force that moves the stars also moves your thoughts. The same silence that fills your dreams surrounds you now. The dreamer and the dream, the observer and the observed, all are one, playing the grand game of remembering and forgetting again and again. What happens when the dreamer becomes aware within the dream? When you realize, mid-dream, that everything around you is your own creation, something extraordinary unfolds. You begin to see that reality bends to consciousness, not the other way around. In lucid dreaming, as Alan Watts might say, the dreamer becomes both actor and author, the puppet and the puppeteer. You begin to sense a similar possibility in waking life, that what you call reality is not happening to you, but through you. Watts often spoke about life as a form of cosmic theater, not to dismiss it, but to celebrate it. When you awaken inside your own story, you begin to play with it, not resist it. You see the patterns, the repetitions, the fears that once bound you, and you laugh, not out of mockery, but out of freedom. You realize that your pain, your triumphs, your doubts, your dreams, they are all parts of the same divine performance. You, the dreamer, are the universe exploring itself, improvising through the dance of duality. Imagine the shift that occurs when you truly understand this. Fear loses its sharpness because there is no longer a separate self to defend. The dreamer cannot be harmed by the dream. When a nightmare arises, you do not run, you awaken. You realize it is only a form, a story, a wave in the ocean of awareness. Watts described this awakening not as escape, but as an embrace, to see that everything, even the chaos, is part of the same sacred unfolding. The moment you awaken inside your dream, whether it's in sleep or in life, you begin to move differently. You respond with clarity instead of reaction, with curiosity instead of control. You discover that the same intelligence that animates your dreams animates your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts. You stop fighting what is and begin to dance with it. You see beauty in imperfection, meaning in silence, and depth in the ordinary. Alan Watts believed that enlightenment is not about escaping the world, but realizing that the world was never something to escape from. The awakening of the dreamer is the realization that there is no dream to wake up from, only a deeper awareness to wake up to. And once you see that, the dream changes. Life changes, because you finally understand that you are not living in a dream. You are the dream itself, breathing, moving, and remembering who you truly are. Alan Watts often described life as music, not a march toward a destination, but a melody to be experienced moment by moment. In his view, existence isn't meant to reach an ending, but to be played. When you listen to music, you don't rush to its final note. You savor each sound as it unfolds. Yet most people live as if racing toward an unseen conclusion, believing that meaning lies somewhere beyond the present. Watts would say that's the great misunderstanding, that we mistake life for a task when it is, in truth, a dance. Dreams reveal this truth beautifully. They are not about arrival, but immersion. You don't want to dream. You experience it fully, just as life intends. If you look closely, you'll notice how every experience, joy, sorrow, confusion, love, moves in rhythm. There's a harmony between opposites that keeps the melody alive. Watts believed that duality is not conflict, but composition. The darkness in your dreams allows the light to be seen. The pain in waking life gives sweetness to joy. Every note, even the dissonant ones, belongs to the same grand symphony. And when you begin to hear this music, you stop trying to control the rhythm. You learn to flow with it. In dreams, you never question the logic of the impossible. You fly, you fall, you breathe underwater, and it all feels natural. This is the essence of surrender that Watts spoke of, to trust the universe the way you trust your dreams. To let go of the illusion of control and allow life to play itself through you. Just as the dreamer doesn't plan the dream, you don't have to force your path. The current of existence already knows where to go, and your only task is to flow with grace, to listen deeply to the music that's playing. The irony is that this surrender brings more power, not less. When you stop resisting, life begins to move through you instead of against you. Like a dancer who stops counting steps and starts feeling the rhythm, You find a freedom that transcends logic. What's often said that life is not a problem to be solved, but an experience to be lived. And the same applies to your dreams. They are not puzzles. They are poems. Their meaning isn't hidden in interpretation, but in feeling. When you understand this, both your dreams and your waking moments begin to shimmer with the same brilliance. You see that reality hums with music, a melody of impermanence, creation, and rebirth. And as you listen, you realize that you've been the composer all along. The dream, the song, the silence, all of it is you, playing endlessly in the theater of consciousness. Alan Watts often said that the world is not made up of separate things, but of relationships, patterns reflecting one another in infinite complexity. In this light, every dream you've ever had is a mirror of yourself, not a reflection of who you think you are, but of the deeper consciousness that exists beyond name, beyond form. When you dream, the faces you see, the voices you hear, the places you walk through, they are all you, wearing masks of your own imagination. Waking life is no different. Every encounter, every challenge, every stranger who crosses your path is a reflection of your inner state. Watts explained that the universe is like a vast mirror, not showing you something external, but allowing you to see yourself through the lens of experience. This realization can be both humbling and liberating, because it means that what you call reality is not happening to you, but for you. Every situation becomes a teacher, every obstacle a reflection of your forgotten strength. The dream world dramatizes this truth. It exaggerates your emotions, amplifies your desires, and reveals your fears. Also, you can recognize the patterns shaping your waking life. To live consciously is to see these reflections clearly. It's to recognize that the anger you feel in a dream or the peace you experience in sleep are not random. They are messages from your deeper self. Watts believed that when you awaken to this understanding, you stop blaming the world for your suffering. You realize that the storm outside mirrors the storm within. You stop demanding that the mirror change and instead begin to change what it reflects. This awareness transforms everything. The people who irritate you become mirrors for your impatience. The moments that break your heart become mirrors for your capacity to love. Even your dreams, wild, confusing, surreal, become mirrors for your subconscious dialogue with existence. When you stop seeing the world as something separate and start seeing it as your own reflection, you awaken to the unity that Watts so passionately described, the realization that there is no boundary between observer and observed, between dreamer and dream. And so, both in dreams and in waking life, you begin to meet yourself everywhere. In the laughter of a friend, in the silence of the night, in the chaos of a city, and even in the shadows of your fears. Everything becomes an echo of the same eternal voice whispering, "You are it. You always have been." Alan Watts often reminded us that clinging to permanence is the root of human suffering. We want our dreams to mean something fixed, our lives to hold steady, our identities to stay the same. But the truth, as he beautifully expressed, is that everything in existence is in motion, flowing, shifting, dissolving, and re-emerging. Just like dreams fade with the morning light, every experience, no matter how vivid, eventually dissolves back into the great ocean of being. To resist that flow is to resist life itself. In dreams, we rarely fight impermanence. We accept that the scene changes, that people appear and vanish, that emotions transform without warning. And yet, when we awaken, we cling to moments, to names, to ideas, to roles. Watts believed that this clinging is the very illusion that blinds us to the beauty of now. The present moment is fleeting precisely because it is alive. Its magic lies in its movement, not its stillness. And when you accept that, both waking and dreaming life become art forms, temporary, delicate, and endlessly meaningful. The wisdom of impermanence invites us to participate fully, not cautiously. You cannot hold on to a dream, but you can experience it completely. Likewise, you cannot hold on to life, but you can live it wholly, without restraint, without regret. When you stop grasping for permanence, every moment becomes sacred. You begin to see that every ending is not a loss, but a transformation, the wave returning to the sea so that another may rise. What's would often compare this to breathing? You cannot inhale without exhaling. To cling to one and reject the other is to suffocate. So it is with joy and sorrow, birth and death, dream and waking. The beauty of existence lies in the rhythm between them. Every goodbye carries within it the seed of a new beginning. Every dream that fades gives space for another to bloom. When you stop fearing the disappearance of what you love, you discover that love itself never disappears. It only changes form. And so, in the light of this truth, you may start to see impermanence not as tragedy, but as grace. Dreams remind us of this every night. Nothing stays, yet everything matters. To be awake in this dance is to let go, not out of despair, but out of understanding. For only what flows can truly live, and only what ends can truly begin. There is a deep peace in realizing that you are not in control, not of your dreams, not of the future, not even of your next thought. Alan Watts taught that the need to control is born from fear, the fear of being separate from life. But once you recognize that you are life itself, not something apart from it, the struggle dissolves. Surrender is not giving up. It is waking up. It is remembering that the river does not need to push itself to flow. In dreams, you never plan what happens next. You don't decide to fly or fall. It simply happens. You are carried by something greater than the conscious will. Watts believed that life operates in the same way. We imagine ourselves as individual agents making choices, yet the very act of deciding arises spontaneously from the same source that makes the heart beat and the stars burn. The illusion of control disappears when you realize that the universe is breathing you, dreaming you, living you. To surrender is to trust that movement, to let the current take you where you need to go. It's the moment when anxiety dissolves into awe, when resistance melts into rhythm. Watts described this as aligning yourself with the Tao, the natural flow of the cosmos. Once you stop fighting the current, life begins to unfold effortlessly. You stop forcing meaning and start discovering it. You stop chasing certainty and start finding beauty in uncertainty. In both dreams and waking life, surrender opens the door to revelation. When you stop trying to control the dream, it transforms. It reveals truths you could never have found through effort alone. The same happens in life. When you release your grip, life begins to show its hidden intelligence. You start to see patterns where you once saw chaos, synchronicities where you once saw coincidence. Everything begins to move in harmony because you are no longer separate from the movement. And this is the ultimate paradox of surrender. By letting go, you gain everything. Freedom is not found in mastering life, but in trusting it. To live as Watts taught is to let life dream through you, to become, at last, the dreamer who no longer fears awakening, because he understands that waking and dreaming are one and the same divine flow. Alan Watts often loved paradoxes, because within them lies the doorway to understanding. To him, the truth was never something linear or logical. It was circular, self-revealing, like a dream becoming aware of itself. He would say that you can't truly define what's real without also defining what's unreal, for both depend on each other to exist. The dream and the waking world are not enemies. They are companions in a dance of opposites. One helps the other make sense. Without illusion, reality cannot shine. Without dreams, consciousness cannot play. In your sleep, you accept the unreal as real, and in waking life, you dismiss the real as unreal. Watts saw this not as contradiction, but as a cosmic joke, the universe laughing at itself through your eyes. The more you try to grasp what's truly real, the more it slips through your fingers. For reality, in his words, is not a fixed state but a verb, something happening, alive, breathing. It is not what is, but what is being. To seek a final truth is like trying to catch wind in your hands. The moment you hold it, it stops moving. So, what if the question of what's real no longer matters? What if the only truth is experience itself? The seeing, the feeling, the dreaming. Watts often said that life doesn't need meaning in the way we think it does. Meaning is the act of living, the play of perception, the divine curiosity of being aware at all. When you realize that, the pressure to find answers dissolves, and you start to simply listen to the wind, to laughter, to silence, to the hum of existence. In that listening, you find something far deeper than meaning, presence. Dreams, then, are not distractions from reality. They are reminders of its fluidity. They show that perception is not bound by rules but shaped by attention. The landscapes of your dreams are painted by the same consciousness that creates sunsets, mountains, and oceans. The difference is only in focus. In dreams, you experience creation instantly. In waking life, the canvas unfolds more slowly. But both are the same art, the same painter, the same timeless hand of awareness at play. And perhaps that's the greatest paradox of all, that reality is both dream and truth, illusion and revelation, form and emptiness, all at once. What would say that once you stop trying to separate them, you finally begin to see, because in the end, it's not about distinguishing between real and unreal, but about awakening to the miracle that both exist, and that both are you. Alan Watts once said, "You are something that the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is something the whole ocean is doing." In that single sentence lies the essence of his view on dreams, self, and reality. What if your life, your memories, your emotions, your desires, is the universe dreaming itself through the lens of your identity? Every thought, every heartbeat, every vision at night is a ripple in the infinite consciousness playing the game of being you. Think about this. Before you were born, you didn't exist as an individual observer. You were the silence before the first note. And when you sleep, that individual vanishes again, returning to the same stillness. Dreams are the bridge between these states, where consciousness flirts with individuality, creating worlds to explore itself. Watts believed that the self is not a solid thing, but a pattern, a movement of the cosmos temporarily shaped into the form called you. To realize this is not to lose yourself, but to find the greater self that includes all things. When you understand that, fear begins to dissolve. Fear of death, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. They lose their grip because the dreamer cannot truly die within the dream. The wave does not end when it crashes. It returns to the ocean it never left. Watts would often laugh at our desperate attempts to preserve identity, saying that the beauty of life is precisely in its transience, that the point of a dance is not to arrive at the last step, but to dance. This realization brings a profound peace. You begin to live differently, lighter, freer, more playfully. You take life seriously, but not solemnly. You love without clinging, act without fear, and rest without guilt. The dream continues, but you are no longer lost in it. You walk through it awake, aware that every face is your reflection, every sound your song, every breath your continuation. And so, as Watts would say, when you wake up from life, you'll laugh. Because you'll see that it was all a dream, not a deception, but a divine performance. The universe dreaming itself, through you, for the joy of remembering what it already knows. If your dreams are not illusions, but echoes of a greater truth, what does that mean for the world you're living in right now? Perhaps it means that every moment, every face, every heartbeat is part of a vast, unfolding dream of consciousness, inviting you to wake up within it. Alan Watts once said that the meaning of life is just to be alive, and yet, we spend so much time trying to make sense of it that we forget to experience it. When you stop chasing reality and start feeling it, the boundary between sleeping and waking dissolves. You realize that everything, from your dreams at night to the sunlight on your skin, is the same miracle wearing different masks. What if, tonight, when you close your eyes, you remember that the same awareness watching your dreams is the one living your life? That realization alone changes everything. You stop seeing yourself as a fragment and start seeing yourself as the whole, the dreamer, the dream, and the awakening happening all at once. Watts believed that enlightenment wasn't about escaping the dream, but about realizing that you were never outside it. Life, he said, is the universe pretending not to know itself, just so it can rediscover its beauty in every heartbeat, in every tear, in every breath. And maybe that's what your dreams have been trying to tell you, that there's no separation, no final awakening waiting somewhere far away. You are the awakening. You are the dream, exploring its own depth, learning what it means to love, to lose, to rise, to fall, and to live. The dream isn't asking to be understood. It's asking to be felt. It's asking you to see how even the smallest moments, the laughter of a stranger, the wind through the trees, the silence before dawn, are pieces of eternity revealing themselves through you. When you begin to live with this awareness, something extraordinary happens. Fear fades. Wonder returns. The ordinary becomes divine. You begin to see that every experience, no matter how fleeting, is sacred, because it is the universe dreaming in real time. You are no longer lost in the search for meaning. You become the meaning. And in that recognition, you wake up not from life, but to it, wide-eyed, present, and profoundly free. So before this dream ends, take a deep breath. Feel the silence behind the sound of your thoughts. Let this idea linger like the echo of a song, that maybe your dreams are not separate from your reality, but a mirror reflecting who you truly are. And if this reflection has stirred something within you, stay connected. Subscribe, leave your thoughts below, and share what this dream means to you. Because every voice, every story, every comment adds to this shared awakening, the beautiful dream of us all remembering that we have always been one.